This research will be focused around the question, how are students able to identify their own funds of knowledge and integrate their funds of knowledge into the classroom? The concept of funds of knowledge was introduced by Moll, Lamonti, and Neff and Gonzalez, and was defined as historically accumulated and culturally developed bodies of knowledge and skills essential for household or individual functioning and well-being. The researchers completed the study through ethnographic analysis, examination of classroom practices, and the development of after-school study groups with teachers. After gathering the funds of knowledge from the families, the teachers then applied this knowledge in their teaching to make their instruction more relevant. Students come to school with a wealth of experiences. There are different methods in which these funds of knowledge can be accessed, such as through home visits, discussion with students and their families, and visits to the community, since the surrounding community impacts the students' development and their funds of knowledge. The surrounding community can also be used as resources in the classroom. The home environment is the first context for learning for children and greatly shapes their funds of knowledge. Children learn how to learn as defined within their particular cultural context. Children then come to school with these differing backgrounds of how to learn. The student's cultural background is also learned and affects the schooling as well. Teachers must identify the cultural knowledge of their students in order to inform their instruction and instructional practices. The instruction must be made relevant to the students' backgrounds. When identifying the funds of knowledge of students, relationships can be built with students and their families. Parents will feel more connected if their funds of knowledge are validated in the school context. Parents can also be more involved and empowered through using them and other community members as resources in the classroom. The research for this study began with a discussion with each student and their families to discover their funds of knowledge. The students then engaged in a semester-long inquiry project. The students created Who Am I portfolios. The purpose of these portfolios was to make transparent to the students their background and their background knowledge. The students then re-examined their portfolios and explicitly wrote about one piece of knowledge they considered their fund of knowledge. I then evaluated the students' portfolios and funds of knowledge prompts and examined if they were able to identify a piece of their funds of knowledge. The Who Am I portfolios contained a variety of pieces of work that engaged the students in research about their backgrounds, such as an About Me writing piece, biographical information, a family tree, and family interview questions. For the purpose of this presentation, 2 students and their work will be the focus of the discussion. Federico is a Hispanic male that recently immigrated from Mexico. He has prior schooling in Mexico and is considered an emergent bilingual. He was raised on a ranch in Mexico and has an in-depth knowledge of schooling in Mexico and also ranching. The pieces of funds of knowledge that he identified was his knowledge of Cheetos and cows. When he sees Cheetos, he thinks that they clearly are not good to eat because one of his grandfather's cows ate Cheetos when it was being moved in a trailer accidentally and then died. The second student, Benjamin, is Caucasian. He was born and raised in Greeley and comes from a low SES background. This is his first year in a bilingual school. His mother does have Hispanic heritage. Benjamin has an in-depth knowledge of football and its practices, and especially of the Broncos. Although his father is not in his life now, his father started his interest in football. This student excelled in a math and assignment relating to football. For his funds of knowledge, he identified his piece as football and connected it to the time he spends with his family. As a whole class, about 70% of the students were able to successfully identify a piece of their funds of knowledge. The Who Am I portfolio served as a scaffold in identifying their funds of knowledge. Although most of the students that did correctly identify a piece of their Funzo knowledge did need individual